I still remember the sound that morning, the low, grinding roar of a diesel engine echoing through the valley, and the split second I realized what was happening. My coffee slipped from my hand before I even felt it fall. A bright orange cement truck was crawling down my driveway, and the brand-new HOA president Valerie Dawson stood beside it, waving like she was directing an aircraft carrier. That truck crushed 16 years of peace and my bridge in one move. For 16 years that bridge had been mine. Built it with my own hands, plank by plank, across the little creek behind my property. It carried my pickup, a few kids on bikes, sometimes a neighbor's golf cart in the winter. It was solid, simple, personal. A piece of home. I never thought I'd have to defend it, especially not from someone who thought a clipboard gave them divine authority. When the HOA first formed 3 years ago, I voted yes. $50 a year seemed harmless. Keep the entrance clean, fix the lights, they said. Sure. But power's a funny thing. Give the wrong person a clipboard and they start thinking they're mayor. Valerie was that person. Platinum bob haircut, mirrored sunglasses, that fake little smile that says, "Good morning," but means I'm about to ruin your day. Her husband's a contractor, which suddenly made every community project involve one of his trucks. My first letter from her came a month after she took over. A friendly reminder my kayak rack violated the visual harmony of the neighborhood. It sat 20 feet inside my own property line. I sent back a county survey map with a polite note, "Problem solved, right?" Wrong. At the next HOA meeting, Valerie rolled out this laminated map that looked like a kid drew it with crayons, a crooked blue squiggle labeled Shared Creek Access. She pointed her pen right at my bridge. As you can see, both sides of this bridge provide ingress to the community recreation area. I stood up, held my official survey over my head. As you can also see, the public easement stops 53 feet before that creek. This bridge, my bridge, is private property. Valerie smiled like someone already planning their next move. We'll take it under review, which in HOA language means we'll do whatever we want. 2 weeks later, that same cement truck rolled down my driveway again, crossing my boards toward the muddy patch she'd declared Phase 1 community courts. The driver waved like it was funny. I could feel the vibration through the ground, through my bones. That night, I drove a cedar post into the dirt at the bridge entrance, hung a metal sign. Private bridge, 5-ton limit, trespassers prosecuted. I looped a heavy chain across and padlocked it. Felt good. For 12 hours. By lunch the next day, the chain was gone. The sign ripped off. In its place, a pastel-colored HOA notice zip-tied to my post. Non-compliance. Unauthorized obstruction. Remove within 24 hours or be fined. That was the moment I stopped being polite. I started documenting everything. Tire tracks, timestamps, license plates, even Valerie's husband's trucks crossing the bridge. Paper can argue, but photos don't. Neighbors started taking sides. Some texted me, "You're absolutely right." Others went online saying, if he didn't want people using it, he shouldn't have built it in the middle. Which is hilarious because it's not in the middle, it's on my land. Land I pay taxes on, maintain, and repair myself. My buddy Joel came by that evening, handed me a cup of coffee, said, "You're about to have a war." Already in one, I told him. At the next HOA meeting, Valerie stood behind a PowerPoint presentation titled Community Connectivity Plan, full of stock photos of happy families. Zero mention of permission. When she thanked me for my spirit of cooperation, I said, "Spirit isn't binding, Valerie. Deeds are." She raised an eyebrow. "We'll consult legal." I smiled. "You might want to consult physics first." A week later, another cement truck came rumbling down. I walked right onto the bridge, palm raised like a traffic cop. Valerie was riding shotgun. "You're over the weight limit," I said. She motioned toward the muddy field. "Community project. Don't make this harder than it has to be. The sign says 5 tons. "The sign wasn't approved by the board," she said flatly. "Neither was the bridge," I said. The driver laughed under his breath. Valerie rolled her window up. The truck moved forward. The bridge groaned under the weight. I heard the wood crack just slightly. A warning. That night, under the porch light, I traced the hairline fracture with my thumb. That bridge had been my peace. Now it was bait. "All right," I muttered. If they want a lesson, they'll get one. The next morning, Joel showed up with a toolbox. We fixing or teaching? Both, I said. We pulled up the decking in the middle span, revealing the metal support plates I'd installed 15 years earlier. If I replace these bolts with shear pins, I said it'll still hold pickups, but the next time someone drives a 12-ton truck? Joel nodded slowly. Gravity gets the final say. We spent all afternoon working careful, quiet, methodical. Tested it with my truck. Solid. Perfect. Mounted 2 trail cameras, one under the bridge, one facing the approach. Every crossing recorded, every angle covered. By dusk, you couldn't tell anything had changed. 3 mornings later, I heard that diesel growl again. Valerie stood beside the truck like she was leading a parade. I didn't move from the porch. I just opened the feed on my tablet and watched. The front wheels rolled onto the bridge, the shear pins flexed, then dipped. The driver hesitated. Valerie shouted, "Keep going." He did. The back drum tilted and half a ton of cement poured into the creek like gray lava. Valerie screamed, half fury, half disbelief. "You're finished, Ethan. You're going to jail." I walked down calmly, hands in my pockets. "Morning, Valerie. You might want to read the sign next time." "You sabotaged this bridge," she yelled. "No," I said. "You sabotaged common sense." Then came the siren. A sheriff's cruiser pulled up. The deputy took one look and said, "Ma'am, this is private property. Posted limit says 5 tons. Valerie sputtered. "But it's a community route." He squinted. "Got documents proving that—" Her silence said everything. I showed him the footage. He nodded. "Looks clear to me." Valerie tried to climb onto the truck, slipped, and landed ankle-deep in wet cement. A few neighbors laughed. Even the deputy smiled. By dinner, the video was everywhere. 500,000 views in 2 days. Someone added dramatic music and the caption, "Gravity always wins." But Valerie didn't quit. She doubled down, sent a mass email titled, "Unsafe Private Structure Puts Community at Risk." I printed it, framed it, hung it above my desk. Next day, she showed up with 2 HOA volunteers in neon vests, pointing, measuring, taking pictures. One of them read the sign out loud, "Private Bridge 5-ton limit," and whispered, "Maybe we should go." Valerie barked, "Keep recording." An hour later, I got another notice. $25,000 fine for damage to community property. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. That afternoon, a county inspector came by. "Nice guy name's Ray. Got a complaint," he said, flipping open his clipboard. "Claims you built this bridge without permits." I handed him a folder. "Built 16 years ago. County approved." He flipped through the papers, nodded. "Looks good to me." And right on cue, Valerie came marching down the road. Hair frizzed, face red. "What's going on here?" Ray said. "Inspection. Everything checks out." "That's impossible." It collapsed. He pointed at the bridge, still standing. "Looks solid to me, ma'am." She glared, muttered something about corruption, stormed back to her SUV. That night, Joel and I sat on the railing, 2 beers in hand, listening to the creek again. "Think she's done?" he asked. I shook my head. "She's not the type to surrender. She's the type to file paperwork." He chuckled. "Then I'll bring popcorn." He wasn't wrong. A week later, I got served Ironwood Ridge Homeowners Association versus Ethan Harper. The lawsuit claimed I'd destroyed shared infrastructure and caused emotional distress. $200,000 in damages. I called my lawyer Dana Fields. Sharp as barbed wire, small-town kind of smart. She read through the stack and said, "This is ridiculous. You've got proof. We'll counter with reality." While she prepared, the HOA started to crack. Board members resigned. One Tom, a retired engineer, called me privately. For what it's worth, he said, "Most of us think she's lost it." Still, Valerie wouldn't stop. She printed flyers calling me a menace, filed noise complaints, even hired a drone pilot to spy on me. I waved at the drone every morning with a cup of coffee. Then came court day. The courthouse smelled like old books and bad coffee. Valerie showed up in a navy suit, lips pressed tight. Her lawyer slicked back like a movie villain. He stood first. "Your Honor, the defendant deliberately weakened a community bridge, endangering lives." Dana stood calmly. "Correction. Private bridge, private land, posted limit ignored." She played the videos, showed the maps, called Joel and Tom to the stand. Joel described the multiple times HOA trucks crossed despite warnings. Tom explained the math load limits materials proof. Finally, Valerie took the stand. Her lawyer asked, "Do you believe Mr. Harper intentionally caused the bridge to fail?" "I know he did," she snapped. "He told me once gravity would teach us boundaries." Dana rose slowly. "Mrs. Dawson, how many times did HOA vehicles cross my client's bridge?" Valerie hesitated. "Maybe 10, 12. And each time over the 5-ton limit, they weren't official limits, meaning they weren't approved by me." Laughter rippled through the courtroom. Even the judge cracked a smile. "Are you aware," Dana continued, "that your husband's cement truck weighs 12 tons fully loaded?" Valerie's face went red. "And are you aware," she said, holding up a document, "that this county plat shows the bridge lies entirely on Mr. Harper's property?" Valerie opened her mouth, but nothing came out. When Dana sat, the judge leaned forward, adjusted his glasses, and said, "I've seen many HOA disputes, but this might be the first time someone buried their credibility in wet cement." Then he struck the gavel. Case dismissed. Outside, reporters swarmed. "Mr. Harper, any comment?" I smiled. "Never underestimate a good bridge." 2 days later, HOA called an emergency meeting. I went mostly for the entertainment value. The room was packed. Valerie stood in front, voice trembling but defiant. The court's decision was based on incomplete information. "We'll appeal to protect the community." I raised my hand. "Before you do, you might want to see this." I plugged in a flash drive. Up on the screen appeared a federal document stamped in red. U.S. Waterway License, Private Access Corridor, 2007. "This," I said, "is a 20-year federal permit granting my property exclusive crossing rights over this creek. The water, the bridge, the land beneath all private." The room gasped. Valerie's eyes darted wildly. "You forged that?" Tom stood. "No, he didn't. I verified it this morning. He even showed me the renewal letter." Then Hannah, a neighbor who'd stayed quiet for months, spoke up. "Valerie, you told us the bridge was community property. You used HOA funds for your lawsuit." "That's not true," Valerie snapped. Tom raised a folder. "We audited the accounts. $42,000 in legal fees, no board approval." The crowd erupted. Someone shouted, "So that's why the playground lights don't work." Valerie slammed her hands on the table. "You think this is over? He's just one man with a bridge." I looked at her and said, "You're right. But that bridge carried truth, and you drove right over it." Laughter filled the room, half relief, half justice. Tom called for a vote to remove her as president. Every hand went up except hers. Valerie gathered her folders, trembling, and stormed out. No cameras this time, no audience left to clap. A week later, I got a letter from the new HOA board. Not a fine, an apology. The Ironwood Ridge HOA formally acknowledges your ownership of Harper Bridge and apologizes for prior misconduct. Enclosed was a check for $1,000 for legal expenses. I didn't cash it. I framed it right beside a photo of the bridge. And when I walk across it now, I listen to the boards creak, the creek hum beneath like it's whispering the same lesson Valerie never learned. Patience isn't weakness. Silence isn't surrender. And gravity always keeps its promises.